আমি একটা ছোট্ট উদাহরণ দেই এবং এরপরে আমরা ক্যাথরিনের সাথে কথায় চলে যাব। আমরা বাংলাদেশে অনেক সময় দেখেছি, আপনারা যদি দেখে না থাকেন একটু ফাইন্ড করার চেষ্টা করবেন। চাপকল যখন বসানো হয়, ওকে? ডিপ টিউবওয়েল চাপকল যখন বসানো হয় তখন শুরুতে যে পানিগুলো বের হয়ে আসে এগুলো কাদাযুক্ত ময়লা পানি। ঠিক আছে? কিন্তু অনেক চেষ্টার পরে অনেক প্রেশার দিতে ফাইনালি পরিষ্কার পানি, পান করার মতো পানি বের হয়ে আসে। স্পিকিংটাও এরকম। আমাদের ভিতরে যে ইংলিশ আছে এটা বাইর হয়ে আসতে চায় না। তো শুরুতে একটু কাদাযুক্ত ময়লা ইংলিশ বাইর হয়ে আসবে। এজন্য আপনার কি করতে হবে? কথা বলতে হবে। আমি যদি কথা না বলে বসে থাকি, আমি কখনোই আমার ইংলিশ ইমপ্রুভ করতে পারবো না, at least for speaking. Option, I live in Canada. For my work, for my everyday life, I have to speak in English. I have no option, right? In Bangladesh, so you have to make it like this. You have to force yourself to put into situation where you can speak. Okay? Right or wrong, it doesn't matter. Again, I said, the more you speak, eventually you will get better, right? If you do not speak, then there is no way to get better. So it's a very basic, like, the reality, right? I don't want to give you false dream. I'm just bringing the reality in front of you, and I think if you have 2 months time, it's enough time to be better in speaking and do a decent amount of score in IELTS. It's enough time, right? 2 to 3. Proceed to our next session where I will talk to Catherine and Catherine will talk on one topic, and I'll ask some follow-up questions. The purpose is to see how Catherine delivers on those topics. Okay, so Catherine, so a little bit of introductory questions. We know your name, we know about your education. So tell us a little bit about something that you are planning maybe in next 1 or 2 year in terms of your educational goal or personal goal.
Oh, my educational goal would be to hopefully get my law degree. So it's a 3-year-long degree here. I'm just wrapping up year 1. So hopefully in 2 years' time, I will have that completed. And hopefully, again, emphasis on that word, I will have a job lined up at a law firm after that. So I will begin articling.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So now we'll move on to part 2 where I will ask you, or I will present to you one topic. We will not give you any time, okay, to prepare. So no, I'm just. But if you need time, feel free. It's up to you, okay. But I think it's fair to give you some time to just gather your thoughts, okay. Let's go with this. So describe a story someone told you and you remember. Okay, you should say what the story was about, who told you this story, why you remember it, and how you feel about it. So maybe take 10, 20, 30 seconds if you need. If you don't need, just let me know, then we can start.
I think I'll start. I think I'll give it a go.
Okay, so let me stop sharing my screen. So the topic is describe a story someone told you and you remember. Okay, start.
So one of the reasons why I can really relate to everyone in this session today with respect to their learning a new language and the difficulty it entails is because I actually speak 3, and one of them I learned particularly through the storytelling of my grandmother. So I am Albanian by background, and my father's parents had actually come to Canada to become permanent residents when it was found out that I was going to be born. So here they were, my 2 Albanian grandparents who, bless them, they did not speak a word of English. So as I was growing up, it was either I was forced to learn Albanian or I would never be able to communicate with them. So my grandmother, in order to kind of help me along with my journey of learning Albanian, because I was determined to do so, she would constantly tell me stories and poems, specifically in Albanian, so that I could hopefully learn some moral values along the way, because all of these stories had exactly that. So one of the stories that really stood out is one that we actually have in Canada as well. It's very popular here. It's actually called The Tortoise and the Hare. And my apologies if you've already heard this story before. But basically, it tells the story or it describes rather, a tortoise and a hare. The hare obviously is much faster than the tortoise. This is very much evident. But the hare was very arrogant, and so they were talking to the tortoise. They said, "You're so slow. I would absolutely beat you in a race," etc., etc. And the tortoise said, "Okay, let's race." So the hare, because he was so much ahead of the tortoise in this race, believing that he would win, even if he were to take a break, he actually stopped on the side and he took a nap. However, to his horror, he woke up and he found out that the tortoise had actually won the race in the meantime. So the morals of this story, the values rather, that is trying to articulate are very evident, I think. Obviously, err on the side of not being arrogant, not being pompous, because it will get you further. But moreover, it sort of conveys that you shouldn't rush in the things that you do. You should take your time because, taking your time will deliver better results and whatnot. So slow and steady quite literally wins the race. And so why this is something that resonates with me, and I remember it to this day, is, again, it formed a part of this journey of my learning a completely new language. And it also sort of cemented these moral and these ethical values that I have to this day. So even in my education, sometimes I've given the chance to maybe not take as much time, for example, on something, maybe submit something that's okay quality, not the best, but I know I can get it done faster and I can move on to the next task. But then I recall, stories like this, values like this, and I think to myself, you know what? I would rather just submit something that really is as qualitative as it gets, the best piece of work I can submit, as opposed to just submitting something in a rush, because I know I will do better if I go the first route.
Okay. Thank you. You have spoken almost around almost 3 minutes. Okay. Which is a good length, but in the real exam, the examiner will stop you maybe around 2 minutes or some stuff, right? But that's a good thing. I didn't want to stop you because you are providing so many variety of sentences with vocabulary range and all that, and we wanted to have that so the students can go back and maybe re-review what you have said. You have used lots of good vocabulary, like you have used cemented, right? I think it what does it mean? It means that it kind of got into your head, right?
Ingrained in my mind.
Yes, ingrained in your mind. So there's so many things to learn from these things, this session. So that's the whole point, right? How a native speaker speaks, how they pick up their vocabulary which is relevant to speaking or your topic. What one tendency we see in our speaking, in what we see in our in Bangladesh, students tend to learn some fancy English and they try to use it out of context. So I think that's a very dangerous thing. So I learn a vocabulary and I use it in a context that doesn't go with, right? So we have to use vocabulary about that context. So in IELTS as well, you will not, the lexical resource itself doesn't help unless you attach it to cohesion and right and that the topic. So if there is no, if that the word, it might be very fancy, very high level word, or the phrase might be very high level, but if it does not attach with your topic, then you're not going to get a good mark. But if you see the example of Catherine, the word, the vocabulary and the phrases, all the impressions she has used, it is relevant to the storytelling and how it impacted her. Okay, so let's go with some follow-up questions. What do you think, or why do you think storytelling is interesting to people? Why is it interesting? Because a lot of people find it interesting. Why is it interesting?
I think the entertainment aspect is a very big part of it. So again, you're going to alter the nature of the storytelling based on the listener, based on the recipient. But again, even in cases like this, like a very simple story, The Tortoise and the Hare, a tale as old as time, if you will, this is both applicable to younger generations, but also those that are older, because it has these values that it seeks to convey. So in that sense, it is entertaining. It is fun to hear about. It's a creative story, but you also learn something at the end of the day. So it has these dual aspects to it. that many people, I feel, would like and would appreciate.
Okay, thank you very much. So I think we got the answer. If we summarize, it is about the entertainment aspect of it and the value or the lesson you get to learn through a story.
Absolutely.